At the end of my career there with the city, I was actually director of housing for the redevelopment agency of the city of Los Angeles. So I worked both at the housing department and at the redevelopment agency. And in my capacity there, I guess when I was more senior at both the housing department and at the redevelopment agency, oversaw the development of major projects. So that's a lot of the affordable housing development that the city does with federal funding and tax credits. And so that was really the majority of my career there with the city. And then when I left the city, went to work for Freddie Mac, and was really more involved on the single family affordable side. So again, helping to, I guess, inform both lenders and potential borrowers on funding sources or funding programs that were available to them to actually purchase a home. And then, pivoted to the construction space. So now over here at the National Hispanic Construction Alliance, working to do capacity building for Hispanic construction workers and contractors.
That's awesome. That'll definitely make you a good fit for your position for sure.
Yeah. I can't say it's all been easy. There's certainly been some hard knocks there, but at the end of the day, I think that got a pretty good grasp of multifamily development, single family development, and underwriting for both of those types of developments. And so I think that's really important to drive kind of the end results that we're looking for at NHCA, which is at the end of the day, create more housing, whether it's rental or for sale, to put on the market. Anything we can do to generate more housing, would help relieve pressure on the overall market.
Yeah, so you mentioned it was pretty hard at the beginning with NHCA. NHCA is the National Hispanic Construction Alliance. I mean, it's still pretty new, but how many chapters does it have already? It's a nationwide organization.
Yes. So we've just put our 8th board in place. So NorCal will be our 8th chapter. I would say most of their folks are kind of on the East Bay side, but we certainly have folks in the San Francisco area as well. I suspect that chapter, once it gets fully formed and we have a launch event, we expect that chapter will probably split into 2 chapters, maybe even 3 chapters. So maybe a true Sacramento chapter, an East Bay chapter, and then a San Francisco chapter. But again, that's kind of a futurescape. But again, we build the critical mass on the chapters, then we'll divide them, and we'll have them kind of focus in on their core areas. I think what's really exciting with that chapter in particular is that it really is made up of a lot of construction professionals, and by that I mean project managers that work for some of the bigger contractors, including Walsh Construction, Herrero Construction. A lot of those folks are working on a new hospital that's being built there in the San Francisco area. So it's somewhat of a unique board in that respect. In some ways, it mirrors a little bit the San Diego board that has a board that includes folks from Balfour Beatty. So again, I think it's a strong board, a little bit different than the other boards, but that's what this is all about, right? Bringing the entire construction ecosystem under one roof so that we can cross-pollinate and work with each other.
That's awesome. And so for people that might still not be aware, can you describe what exactly is NHCA?
Yeah, so the National Hispanic Construction Alliance is really an ecosystem that we're trying to develop to help do capacity building for the construction worker and for the contractor that is Hispanic. Our doors are open to all contractors and all construction workers, irrespective of they're Hispanic or not, because at the end of the day, they're part of the ecosystem, right?
Yep.
And so we're not trying to be exclude anybody. We're trying to be as inclusive as possible. We're focused on Hispanics because they, by and large, have been ignored by other efforts, right? Whether it's having access to education or information that is in language. There's some barriers there, and maybe not so much in California, because California is a little bit more, predominantly Spanish speaking in a lot of ways, but certainly in other cities across the country. So our goal is, to impact both of those spaces, workers and contractors. The workers, we want to make sure that they get access to the proper training to get certified and be able to go out and really build a construction career, and understand kind of which steps they can take throughout their construction careers to move forward. It's not just, hey, I'm going to swing a hammer for the rest of my life, or I'm just going to do, be pulling wires the rest of my life.
Yep.
It's helping them understand what that entire ecosystem is. And for the contractor, it's helping them, Hispanic contractors, get away from that dependency on cash, right? Stop taking cash payment. We want Hispanic contractors to understand that if you're truly going to build a business that's going to grow legitimately in the construction, quote unquote, economy, you need to get properly licensed, bonded, insured. You need to establish a business account. You need to file taxes, et cetera, because all of those things limit your ability to participate in the larger construction economy, the larger construction opportunities that exist out there.
I love that. I love that. Sergio, I appreciate all of that. Endy, I appreciate all of that. I have some good news. We finally connected through. So now we are officially live on Instagram. We're officially live on YouTube. And this is also recording just so we can make official first episode. So I want to just welcome everybody who is joining in and listening into Sergio, especially with some exciting things that he was just sharing with us. And I know a lot of them jumped in halfway through, so we're going to shake this up. That I feel like that was the perfect practice run because it actually fits with everything that we have listed that we wanted to go over today. But I just want to introduce ourselves and welcome everybody to our new docu-series that we're going to be filming tonight. And it's especially tailored for the Hispanic community, especially with everything that we see going on at the news. Some of us could be worried. Some of us can feel some types of other way. We're really seeing both sides of the coin right now, especially when we put it on social media. We have individuals saying some people don't belong here. We have other people saying this is why we came here, for an opportunity. And now we have a room full of industry leaders who are going to speak on that, especially with the heritage that we have coming as a Hispanic community. What's our take on it? How can we get better? Understanding where we came from. I think Endy hit it perfect yesterday. He said, how did we get here? And that's what we have to focus on. Once we recognize on how we got here, we can figure out what the next steps that we need to do. At the same time, take into consideration everyone's feelings, their family heritage, and actually look towards of what we are looking to build together. Just like what Sergio said, where are we going to be building? How are we going to build a lasting company? All that's going to be discussed tonight in episode 1 of what I want to call the Immigrants Who Built America. I mentioned multiple times, my favorite show to this day is The Men Who Built America, because you really get to see how the American Revolution, the Industrial Revolution, really pushed America forward when it came to the building, the expansion towards the West, the Industrial Revolution, the steel mills, Rockefeller, all the big businesses that we know today all started with that Industrial Revolution, to the point where we see these men as icons, the men who built America. So that's why we want to honor our heritage and talk about the immigrants who built America. And with that, we have 2 members with us. We're waiting for a third, but we have Sergio and we have Endy, who we're going to jump into episode 1, which is the workforce nobody wants to talk about. And that's an interesting topic because I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. It's an interesting topic because Sergio just jumped into it saying, hey, we have to get out of this mindset of how we just handled basically with cash, or Endy of some contractors who don't want to do things the right way. I can't wait to hear what they have to say. But let's start off with introductions. Sergio, I would love to hear from you fully now that I'm sitting down paying attention. Who are you? What are you doing? What's your mission? How can others get involved?
Well, thank you, Wilson, for teeing that up for me. So again, Sergio Barajas, I'm the executive director of the National Hispanic Construction Alliance. We are a relatively new nonprofit that was essentially launched about 18 months ago, and our vision and our mission is to recognize the contributions that Hispanic construction workers and contractors make to the construction industry and find ways to do capacity building on their behalf. Whether it's the construction worker or the contractor, we want to empower them to find the path forward. You can almost say it's the blueprint to success. And everybody's blueprint is going to be a little bit different, but nonetheless, that's our vision, that's our mission, is to help people understand how they prosper as individuals and as companies moving forward.
Oof, I love that. And where are you guys based out of?
So NHCA is based out of, we're headquartered out of San Diego. And at this point in time, we've already have 8 chapters up and running. And so Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Phoenix, San Diego, Nashville, Charlotte, Denver, and Northern California will be our next launch event here at the end of July. So we're
Oh,
up and
wow.
running in those. Yeah, we're up and running in those 8 markets, and we have another 7 to 10 markets in incubation right now.
Oh, wow. And just in an 18-month turnaround time.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I would say that it's been less than 18 months because we really didn't start implementing the model until about 14 months ago. But nonetheless, we've gotten great traction. We're in excess of 2,200 members at this point in time. Our goal by the end of the year is to be at 15 chapters and north of 5,000 members.
Exciting. I love that. That's the type of, wow. I'm very proud. I'm very proud of you guys, and I'm looking forward to see how everything rolls out, especially over here in the Northeast. I would love to get involved if there's anything in the Northeast coming in the near future.
Yeah, well, we've got a chapter in New York percolating right now. You know, one of the things that we do when we set up new chapters is first we obviously have to put a board in place, and we've got about 6 or 7 folks out of New York that are interested in forming a chapter there. There are a couple of other markets that are interested. I'm headed to Washington, D.C. tomorrow. I expect to see some of those people in D.C. on the 12th when we install our national board. So I'm excited to start to gain some traction in the Northeast. We were very intentional about establishing chapters in Nashville and in Charlotte. We understood that in order to truly be a national organization, we just going to be present in the West Coast. So we've been pushing out to the east, southeast, and hopefully the Northeast soon.
I'm excited to hear that. I can't wait to see it all roll out. And now, Endy Segura. Everyone knows Endy with Energen Electric, but Endy, you want to officially introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your background and what we're going to be doing here?
Yeah, thank you, Will, for organizing this, and thank you, Sergio, for spending your time with us. So my name is Endy. I own Energen Electric here in Los Angeles, electrical company, and we specialize in backup generators. So I've been an electrician for about 13 years now. Started my business a couple years ago, and little by little, I've been meeting people like Will and people like Sergio that are doing big things, and that's my goal too, is to be part of these types of circles that are making a good impact to our community, because all in all, the big mission is to help the people around you, right? To lift up the community, and that is what Will wants to do, and that is what Sergio wants to do. As an immigrant myself, I was born in El Salvador, and now I'm a U.S. citizen. Looking at everything that's going on right now with immigration, and as a person in the trades, it's conflicting. It's hard to watch, and it's people are going to have differences in opinion, and I think Will's doing a good thing here with hosting this, so that we can have a good conversation about while taking a bird's eye view of what's going on, right? So that maybe we can educate some people that have a certain opinion that might not have all the details. And it goes both ways, So that's what this 7-part series is going to be about. Really, is bringing value to really difficult conversation that has to be had so that we can move forward.
And what I love about what you just touched on, it is conflicting. because it almost feels like half of us have the emotional side where we're looking at this, and of course we want the best outcome for everybody, no matter the cost. And then, like we were just talking about in the intro with Sergio, when we were talking about how we have to get out of this mindset of like cash, 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 or I would even go a step further when it comes to the Hispanic culture, we don't have a very business savvy mindset, you know, like everyone's so in like save, save, save mode at the same time. Don't spend money, you know, money under the mattress, just like what Sergio was saying. So our representation when it comes to the trades, even though that we make a big part of the workforce, when it comes to that side of our mindset, it does conflict with how we may feel. And then just like many of us who go into business, we usually have that conflict of emotions when we're dealing with our own family members. So I can't wait to hear this stuff and these perspective and these experiences from individuals like you guys. And I just want to jump into this series by talking about the workforce that nobody wants to talk about. We understand that we are a big part of the workforce, especially in LA. I'm over here on the East Coast. Hispanic and immigrants as a whole play a major role. I think we make up a 30% of the construction labor force. And I want to hear from you guys, what's that experience been like for you guys throughout the trades or around the trades, and just having friends, family experiences as a whole? How do you guys feel?
I think Sergio can speak on that from a different perspective. He knows a lot of the facts about what the industry is looking like currently, what it used to look like. Maybe if you could talk about that, and then maybe I'll talk about some personal experiences.
Well, yeah,
Perfect. Thank you.
so I think the important thing to understand is I try not to be emotional about what's going on, right? So let's
Let's see.
Looks like
Everything okay?
looks like Sergio froze. Sergio, if you can
All
hear
right.
us, looks like we lost you.
Let's see.
think it's
Yeah,
important to recognize that back. I thought I think I
Yeah.
lost
Yep.
connection for
Nice and clear.
Okay. So yeah, I was just saying, I said, I think the important thing to recognize and try to take kind of the rhetoric out of this is that there's a shortage in the construction labor workforce, period, end of story. I don't care what else you believe,
Mhm.
that the numbers tell that story. And so at this point in time, the folks that are really growing the construction labor workforce are Hispanic and they are immigrant. And so if you look at going back to 2018, Hispanics represented about 3.2 million people in the construction workforce. In 2023, they represented 3.7 million of the persons in the construction workforce, and our percentage increased from 28 to 30+% during that time period. So we are the group that's growing in the construction workforce as labor. Number one. Number two, we actually are growing at a rate that's making up for losses in other populations of the construction workforce.
Ooh.
Period. End of story. Again, this is math. We're not arguing colors here. We're talking about math. So if you just accept that and say, okay, the numbers are the numbers, then there's a space here that is being that we need to continue to nurture and grow so that we are properly trained and represented in the industry going forward.
I love that. I love that. And I appreciate how you're coming in with that perspective, that knowledge, that statistics, because a lot of people want to make it seem like, oh, you know, it may not be an issue, or yeah, just all in all, the representation has to be there. And I appreciate that you're bringing those facts. Endy, you want to jump into that before, and then we'll introduce Sergio.
Yeah. So I mean, my whole career in the trades as an electrician, we all know it. It's all Latinos, Hispanics, predominantly on the workforce, and but not so much in the management position. You would think that if they're all in the workforce, that there would be a good representation up higher in the ladder, but that's not the case, and for whatever reason. But I think one of the reasons is because we don't have the tools readily available to us, or the mindset to get to that point. Because I know, because I didn't. For a long time, I was like, I don't want to deal with other people. I don't want to manage other people. I don't want to the responsibility. But the older I got, the more I learned, the more I realized that it's actually beneficial, not just to me, but to my community, to step up and take these roles and lead, by example. Because honestly, monkey see, monkey do is the simplest way I can put it. Unless other kids don't don't see someone like me in these positions, they're not going to strive for that either. So they already don't have the tools or the mindset to even get that done. And then if they don't even see someone, it's the likeliness of the status quo being the same is going to be, it's going to stay the same pretty much.
Yeah. And that's why I like what Sergio touched on. And Sergio, before we introduce the other Sergio, could you touch on that part? Because I know it goes hand in hand with what Endy just said about the nurturing. I like that, because when I talk about the skilled labor shortage, I don't just say we have a shortage. I also say we have a retention issue. So retention and nurturing, I want to hear your thoughts.
Well,
on
yeah.
that.
So before I hit retention and nurturing, I think the other thing we need to talk about is the reason we have such a shortage in the labor workforce is that, somewhere back 20, 30 years ago, the trades became a 4-letter word. And if you didn't go to college, you weren't going to prosper, you weren't going to succeed. And all of a sudden, folks started steering away from the trades, and we have this present situation. And so even those folks that are in the trades now, if they don't understand the path forward, that, hey, I started out as just as a journeyman, or just, as labor, if someone's not showing them the steps forward, then they think that they're cubbyholed and that they're not going to move forward. One of the things that we're working on to kind of help people understand is, yes, you can probably get a job making as much money flipping burgers at a fast food place as you can kind of entry level in the construction space. But where are you going to be 3 years out in the fast food business versus the construction industry? And so we need to share with people that as you grow, find education, then you're going to prosper at a much greater rate in the trades.
I like that. I like that. And a big part of it is that it is the exposure. So we have down here Sergio Cortez. Sergio, are you on with us, brother? If not, we'll jump into our next topic and we'll introduce Sergio as he jumps on. But I think you guys touched on this perfectly, because if you see the beginning of our outline, we're talking about how we show up every day, they build the jobs, but no one talks about them. Let's fix that. And this is relatively speaking of what Sergio brought up about the statistics. Not only do we make up, but we're ever growing. So I want to talk about this next level. Is it difficult to find these numbers because of this is so Sergio, this is going to go over to you. Are these numbers that you brought up before, not only talk about the 30% that make up the workforce, but how we continue to grow? Is that just documented, or that also reflects undocumented? And how do we balance those two worlds?
Yeah, so I would say that those numbers include some undocumented. And the reason for that is because when you're looking at census data, some folks decide to fill out the census data and some folks decide not to, right? And so I'm sure it does capture some of it, but I would say that it doesn't capture the majority of it. And so again, if we're representing 30% plus of the construction workforce, and we know that from a leadership perspective, as Endy touched on earlier, we're about 13%. There's a huge disconnect just between those two numbers, right? And so we need to, again, continue to grow the workforce, educate the workforce, and find ways to build our own businesses.
Yeah. And do you think a lot of that, the issues of when, like what Endy spoke about, the speaking up, stepping up, the leadership position, do you think that's comes from our culture, the background as the heritage? Because I was always we're very warm-blooded creatures, when especially with like my background, my mother's Puerto Rican, Brazilian, my father's Dominican, so we got that Caribbean blood. So, and I know when things get passionate, even when it comes to arguments, when it comes to everything else, it gets there. So how can we understand where we are as a type of person, or our culture, our heritage, our upbringing?
Yeah.
How does that play into all of this? Because I feel like that's a big
Yeah.
distinction,
Well,
unless I'm not
yeah, no,
wrong.
I think it is cultural, but it's also language. So from a cultural standpoint,
Ooh.
I have a good friend. His name is Jason Madiedo, and we talk about kind of Hispanic success from a cultural standpoint, and the fact that we tend to always summarize our fate with "Si Dios quiere," if God
Yeah.
wills it, right? And so we were talking about that, and he says, what we really need to do is just change the punctuation and say, "Si Dios quiere," yes, this is this. So it's the
Ah.
same words, but from a cultural standpoint, we just need to be positive and proactive, not let's see what happens. So I think from a cultural standpoint, that is something that we need to realize does happen. But the other is language. And I'm going to give you a quick example of language where I think language is the barrier. And where some of us aren't comfortable speaking, English. I'm certainly not as comfortable speaking Spanish as I wish I was. But so you try to understand their perspective and their view of coming into the business world. And being of San Diego, we had our launch event in San Diego. This gentleman came up to me. He was excited about the fact that Hispanics in construction were gaining a voice. And I asked him how long he had been a contractor, and he says, "Well, I'm not a licensed contractor. I just work with somebody else, but I've been doing it for 15 years." And I said, "Well, why aren't you a licensed contractor if you've been doing it for 15 years?" He goes, "Well, I'm not comfortable taking a test in English." Well, the test is offered in Spanish
Ooh.
in California. And that's what I mean. Lack of communication, fear of the language, and those two things, culture and language, really create
Mm.
larger barriers than they really are.
Mm. Andy, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think that's definitely one scenario that plays out a lot. I think another one would be, a more regular, typical one would be there's a construction worker that happens to be an immigrant, and he has illegal status, and he works very hard, probably gets paid very little, and they're here for a long time, and they build a family, and then their kids see their dad or mom working that really hard job that's not producing as much as it should be. So then you have these kids that see the construction industry as not something that they want to get into, and I think that paints a bad picture, because like you said, we're
Mm.
30% of the construction workforce, and no one really knows how much of that 30% is are undocumented workers. I think I heard someone say it was 20% or something like that that had been reported. So it could be maybe even more than that because no one's going to report.
Well,
Um,
that's a good point, Andy. If you think that the upside of being in the construction industry is what you see your father or your mother doing in the construction industry, then it really doesn't call you to the industry, right? And I think
yeah,
that's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And then
Wow.
I like what you said too about si Dios quiere, si
Mhm.
Dios quiere. I, there's another
Yeah.
saying that I used to always think about that I'm not sure if it's in the Bible, but I heard and it goes that God says, "Ayúdate, que te ayudaré." It means if you help yourself, I'll help you. So like, don't
Mm.
wait for God to do something for you. You're supposed to put in the work, and then
Yeah.
So that what you said there reminded me of that. But yeah, man, this whole immigration thing and the construction workforce and anywhere else, in any other industry, it's a tough one. In my opinion, honestly, seeing ICE pick up all these workers, people that are literally working, not mooching, they're paying taxes, they're paying into Social Security, even if it's a fake Social Security number, they're still paying into it, right? Um, to me, it seems like they're shooting themselves in the foot. Honestly, they're picking up all these people that are contributing to the society, and it's going to diminish. They're shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah. And what I am so amazed that in just this like 30 minutes, we had 3 key points of what we wanted to talk about. And we covered them just by talking about experience alone, not even going into detail. One, we talked about the undocumented workers making up the majority. Sergio started with that, and how it is even growing. Despite decades of experience, they're invisible in the workforce statistics policy decision because of lack of leadership, because of the way we're upbringing, cultural, but at the same time, the language, just like Sergio mentioned. And then now what Endy's mentioning, the ones who are working, even though they're paying into Social Security, even if it's a fake one, the no benefits, no safety net, but they keep working. And like you just said, it's going to eventually, some way, with every cause, there's an effect. So we can say something's going to happen. But what is the end result? We don't know yet. Everything's still playing out, especially it being so fresh. But what do we do know is they keep working. We keep working. We keep building. And the thing is, we need even more help. And I feel like even before this thing in LA started, and I'm just saying LA because you guys are closer to California. We know it's happening across the US. We have the studies in Connecticut, New York, Miami, down Fort Lauderdale. It's happening everywhere. So we're not just isolating California. But once we see that, and the fact that, once again, Sergio started with, we already have a shortage. That's not, that doesn't even speak on the 30% now that is getting targeted. What do you guys
Well,
think?
here's the thing that folks are missing, or at least they're not connecting the dots, is you've got a shortage in labor. You're already going to drive up costs in labor. You've got the tariffs that are hitting us, right? How much do you think you're going to be paying for construction in the very near future? Not next year. I'm talking about, next week, next month.
Next quarter.
And so if you keep on pushing labor and the availability of labor, you're just continuing to exacerbate the situation. Another point I do want to make is that if you think about labor and its impact, or the shortage of labor, people don't recognize that when you start impacting labor, the first thing that is impacted by that shortage is the construction of housing. Because if you think about the hierarchy in construction, it's infrastructure, it's commercial, and then it's housing. And so when you see, undocumented, or you see immigrants or folks that are just coming into the industry, they're starting at the lower levels, right? And then they're graduating up that construction ladder, that rung, that they're pulling themselves up through the industry. So be aware that the first place you're going to see it is in housing, and that space, and then going on into the commercial space.
Wow, that's a good point. That's a good point. I didn't even think about it like that. I was always thinking about the rates going up, but that's going to eventually, or well, not eventually, very relatively soon, going to affect the end user, which is the homeowner, which typically has more of the calls, service related compared to commercial.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I just want to throw in my 2 cents that I don't know, I'm just brainstorming here, but in a perfect scenario, right? They're already here working. They're building stuff. They're working. They're literally building things for the United States. Like, why not just let them stay, give them a path to like a working green card, and have them stay here while we train up, the working force behind them, which is the youth, right? We need more young people in the trades, and we're, like you said, we're already so low in the workforce, and we're getting rid of the ones that are already working, and not enough are coming in. So it's like they're shooting themselves in the other foot as well now, honestly. So
like almost like a train the trainer
Yeah.
program, right?
yeah,
Well,
Like have that transition.
well, I think that everybody sees that as the solution. The problem is that, that's the political football that has been passed back and forth by both parties over the past 25, 30
Yeah.
years. At the end of the day, I don't see this being an issue that one party created. I see it being an issue that both parties created. Hispanics, Latinos, we've been a pawn in this game where, they want our vote, but they don't want to do anything for us. Just think about that, right? Over those 30 plus years. And so I'm not surprised that we are where we're at today, because it has been an issue. It has been a wound that has been festering for so long, and it needs to be addressed. It's terrible that it's come to this. And so, we're really hoping that efforts like those that are being spearheaded by ABIC, the American Business Immigration Coalition, are able to bring reasonable minds and not the extremes on the left and the right, to have a discussion on why it makes sense from a business standpoint, Endy, to actually maintain that workforce and give them a path to citizenship, or a path to have status in the U.S.
yeah, and you know what? A lot of them don't even want to stay for long. They want to come here, want to work, make a little bit of money, and then go back to their countries. And what's wrong with that? That should also be an option. Yeah.
What I appreciate about what Sergio's touching on right now is how he brought up the political side of both things. And what I appreciate, and especially that's what we're seeing now, like both sides of the fence were both speaking on both the same topic. It's almost like it was word for word what they were saying. So, Sergio, I definitely think you hit it on the head. Now, and then I like how you also brought in the point of accountability, where it's like we also, you're not surprised that we're at this position, because it's like we're on the hamster wheel. Is NHCA helping in that forefront when it comes to leadership, and how could people get involved? The reason why I'm saying is because I feel like a big emotional, personal button has been pushed, where people who maybe before didn't want to speak get involved. Is there anything individuals can do on a personal level, instead of just being on this hamster wheel?
Well, absolutely. So first I'll say this, is that NHCA is not a civil rights organization. It's a what's right organization, right? And so to us, what's right is to help these folks that have been, putting in hard work for so long, help them find a path forward. Of course, we're not talking about violent criminals. Nobody wants a violent criminal. So stop with that rhetoric if you're on that side of the aisle, right? No one's going to dispute that with you. But clearly stop, identifying anybody and everybody that doesn't have a legal status as a violent criminal. So that's number one.
That's
yes,
two sides.
stop.
Yep.
Just stop.
It's like either extreme.
Absolutely. So, but the way I think you can get involved is, number one, become a member of NHCA, and you can visit our website at nhca.pro and go to the membership link and become a member. And so why am I asking you to become a member? Because what we do is we inform our members every time we hear an update related to changes in labor practices, immigration reform. It's not always going to be around immigration, right? But we update them every time that there's a new topic to discuss. And it gives us a space to share our thoughts and opinions, and hopefully cool the rhetoric on both sides. One of the things that I do on a weekly basis is I put out a blog. And so in that blog, we try to help people understand, the nuances of doing what we're trying to do as an organization, create a Hispanic capacity building in the construction space in the way that isn't politicized. It's just economics. It's good for the industry. It's good for our communities.
I love that. And maybe afterwards you can pass me some information so I can put it on our stories also, just so people can have more of a reference to go to. Endy, how about you? How has being a part of this association what has it taught you? What have you seen? How have other people been receptive to it?
Yeah, so for those of you guys that don't know, I'm a board member of NHCA, the Los Angeles chapter, and it's when I found out about it, I just kept sending emails and emails and emails like, how do I get on this board? Like, what do I got to do to get on? Because it's part of my mission, to build a valuable business and then give back to the community. And in order to do that, you need as many tools as you can. And NHCA is going to have those tools, going to present those tools to those people that want to grow in construction. So yeah, it's been nothing but good. I've met so many well-positioned people that I wouldn't have met if I wasn't a member of NHCA. And I believe the membership is still free, right? If it's not still free, it's probably just like $55 for the year or something like that. I think it might go up and down a little bit, but it's for the year, and you get so much value out of it. I mean, you get access to all of our events. We just had a good event talking about the rebuild process for Altadena for the fire victims, and it's just going to keep on coming. So I think NHCA and Energize us EDU are very similar. They're about giving back and helping elevate the construction field.
What I appreciate about you both is how you're taking a proactive step. Once again, it's just like in the trades. A lot of us are so prone to just being reactive, especially when it comes to as a contractor. Sergio, I don't know if you notice, I always say like contractors and people with our background, we're always told what to do. It's like we all say we quit our job so we can be our own boss, but then we're being told what to do by the customer because they need us at odd hours. They need us to lower the price. Inspectors don't know the code, so they just tell us to fix something because we don't do our own education on the code. So they say fix it just because I said so. So we're always being told what to do. And what you guys are doing, not only like you talked about, it's not a civil rights movement, but it's a what's right movement. So you're really giving people and telling people, hey, this is something, look at where we're at. Just like what Andy said at the beginning of the episode. How did we get here? The next question should be, is this what you want or you don't want? If it's not what you want, what can you do to change that? And that's what I appreciate about you guys at NHCA, because now it's like, okay, this is how we got here. I don't want this. And if it is something you want, then cool, power to you. You keep doing what you're doing. But if you're the one that wants to say, hey, I want to learn more about what my business can do, I want to understand what opportunities are there, I want to learn more, I want to put myself in more uncomfortable situations, NHCA is going to give you those opportunities to do that. And I want to just say thank you for those examples that you guys are giving.
My pleasure. I think one thing I will share, or another thing I'll share, is that in September, we're going to have a national conference in San Diego, and we're really excited about pushing out an initiative called Build the Builder. And Endy, that's the next step we're trying to take with Hispanic construction workers and contractors is, to your point, we want to be our own bosses. So why are you developing projects for others? Why not develop projects for yourself? So we're going to have 5 hours of training over 2 days that's focused on that curriculum, that content, site selection, underwriting, bidding and estimating, and project management. And again, our doors are going to be wide open at that conference. We should have a link up on our webpage to register probably in the next 10 days. But I really think that that's the next step to elevating us in the development space.
Once again, guys, I appreciate each and every one of you. Before we end it, could you give one more introduction, one more call to action, one more reference where these guys can find more information about you guys?
Absolutely. So once again, please visit our website at nhca.pro. You can go to that link and you're going to see a dearth of information from all of the events we've had, our different blog posts. Become a member. It's free for the balance of this year, and it'll cost you $50 next year. But I guarantee you, once you see what we're doing, both at the national and local level, you'll see all the value that we're building for our members across the country.
Appreciate you, Sergio. And Endy, you want to give your information just for anybody if they may have questions and want to reach out to you on a local level?
Yeah, so once again, my name is Endy Segura. I own Energen Electric here in Los Angeles County. If any of you guys want to talk business or you have any questions, if you're just starting your entrepreneurial journey, feel free to reach out. You're gonna go through a lot, and I've been through some stuff already, so I'm more than happy to help out, answer you guys' question, give you guys guidance. Definitely join NHCA. It's the good branching point where they're gonna have events. And Sergio is involved in a lot of different organizations, not just NHCA. He has good connections in APIC and the Council of 100, which is another organization we'll be talking about maybe in a different episode. And yeah, you guys feel maybe the best place to reach out would be Instagram, energen.electric. So I'll be there.
I appreciate you guys. And once again, welcome everybody. And thank you everybody for joining in the episode of The Workforce Nobody Wants to Talk About. This is our docu-series, The Immigrants Who Built America. And even though we make up the majority of the workforce, we're not calculated, we're not counted for, but we can see with leaders like Energen, leaders like NHCA, we are growing a voice and we're developing leaders. We're building builders. We're building leaders within the industry. And we want to just thank everybody for joining us today. See you guys on Thursday when we're going to jump into episode 2 of The Immigrants Who Built America. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio. I appreciate it. Have a safe flight to DC.
No problem. Thank you again, guys. I'll keep you guys posted. And Andy, have you been reading the weekly blogs? Have you been receiving them and reading them?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Hey, Wilson, can't wait to get out to set up a chapter in Puerto Rico. That's another market we want to get to. So
let me know. I'll go down for every week. I live in Connecticut, so you tell me where
awesome.
I gotta go. I'll fly down. I'll be like, baby, I gotta go. I'm sorry.
All right, gentlemen.